Hello, welcome to the Relish Lifestyle Podcast on episode 4 of our third series. And it is certainly, as we talked about before, very wintry at the moment. And hunkering down and cooking and stirring and chopping and roasting is a good way of kind of filling those grey days.
Well, today really has been not great, has it?
No,
well, the last few days, actually, Charlie.
Absolutely horrible.
I know. So you've been working from home.
Yeah.
So how's it been?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. I've just been obviously hunkering down. And then yesterday evening, I had managed to procure some Seville oranges.
Oh!
So I got chopping and stirring and doing all that. So that was it's very colourful way of spending an evening.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, because you bought me a little jar of it.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to taste it.
I know.
And actually, I'm just thinking, it's not as dark as your last one, is it?
No, but I think that's because obviously just the sugar, the pectin. I mean, when you're dealing with obviously produce like that, natural, it's a bit like we know that when you make bread, isn't it? Sometimes you can use 500 grams of flour, whatever the recipe calls for, and sometimes you put what feels like a teaspoon of water in and it's too much. Other times you put in gallons and it's not. It's still dry.
So how many jars did that make then?
That's a really good question. I think it's 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that,
it is 9. Yeah.
Because when you showed me the net of oranges that you bought the other day, I said to you, didn't I? Well, how many will that make? Will it make 4 or 5? And you said, oh, no, make more than that. And I thought, gosh, I don't know why. I was thinking in my head, because it boils down, it's not going to make as much.
No, it's made a lot. And luckily, obviously, as we all do, we keep our jars, especially sort of nice shaped ones, for doing things like putting preserves, marmalades and jams in. So I have plenty of jars. So it was a lovely way to spend an evening from sort of 6 till 9 or 9:30. It was quite late because obviously it's a lot of peeling and chopping. Well, not chopping, it's the juicing, and then obviously I always hand cut all the rind.
Oh, you hand cut it, so you don't whiz it up in a processor.
You just get chunks then. You don't really get slithers.
No, it is the slithers that are rather nice.
So I try very patient. I just put some calm sort of music on and there's a lot of peel to chop.
Yeah, I know it is. But like we've said before, haven't we? We like this. It's almost therapy, isn't it?
Well, that's what
chopping and cooking and stirring.
Well, honestly, I had nothing else on the agenda to do yesterday evening. I thought actually, if I just get on with it, hotter. Obviously, it's quite good because while that's sort of boiling or I'm chopping, I could put my dinner in and all that. So we were in the kitchen anyway. So it was it was a lovely way to spend an evening. And so it's got 9 jars of marmalade, and it's just a lovely. I mean, it was interesting about this marmalade. It's a Seville marmalade, so it is a bitter marmalade, and that is not to everyone's taste. But it's just interesting that the British quite like bitter.
Yeah, but don't you think that's the whole point? Because actually, marmalade is sugary.
Yeah,
but the sugar with the bitter oranges, and it gives it that taste. It gives it that uniqueness.
Yeah,
I think.
But it is quite a British thing to have that kind of bitter sugar mix.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, a lot of, as we know, other nations prefer just sugar or just bitter.
Well, I suppose like a concert, like a fruit.
Yeah,
which is
we can be very sweet.
Yeah. So you've used marmalade quite a lot in cooking, haven't you? As in stirring it in sauces and things.
Yeah, I've added it to gravies before to give you a depth. I think because it's fruity still, and you do put a couple of lemons in the recipe I did in there as well. So you do get that added kind of just citrus, I don't know, spirits that goes into a sauce. And it is quite nice, especially with, if you're doing something like chicken, it's quite nice. Like we put red currant jelly, don't you?
Yeah.
It's quite nice to have something like that in the gravy. But what I find quite interesting is just going back to that whole bitter thing. It is quite interesting how in other foods we've done it. So a long time ago, in the sort of 70s, 80s, obviously, everyone was drinking Campari and soda.
Oh, of course.
Which is very bitter.
No, I was
just very bitter, orangey. Of course you are. A very bitter, aperitif.
Yeah, I still not like.
Yeah, but Then Lillet, which has actually had a bit of a resurgence recently in Britain, is a brand of like an aperitif again, and you can have that with tonic or soda or whatever you choose. But when they originally launched in Britain, it was too sweet for British taste, so they had to do a Lillet extra dry just for the British market. So it's just interesting that we obviously do we're dry.
Yeah, because they were saying for quite a while, this whole thing about taking sugar out of foods is because our taste buds, because they were adding sugar, and I think this came from America, because in America they add sugar to so many things, like even their bread.
Yeah, but I don't think it's, I mean, obviously these aperitifs come from Europe, but it's just interesting that they were more used to having a sweet aperitif, and maybe it's because of our love of things like gin and tonic. We like a kind of bitter sour, live maybe before you start your main meal. You have your gin and tonic, and so when all these, the word's gone out of my head. I keep saying aperitif, and it's not right. But whatever they're called, these drinks came over. No, the actual, like, it's like a mixer, isn't it? What's the other thing you have with it?
Oh, right.
I don't remember the main ingredient, the main event. Anyway, your Camparis and all that kind of stuff, Chisanos, all that. A lot of people, they had to do, just for the British market, extra dry varieties because they were too sweet otherwise for our taste. They just didn't sell. So just interesting. But obviously that goes back to, obviously these Seville oranges are bitter. And did you know it's quite interesting with these Seville oranges? So obviously we use them in marmalade, or I have used them in marmalade. I was speaking to a friend this week, and they use it quite a lot in Iranian cuisine.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So in Iran and Persia, obviously it would have been called, they use it a lot for flavouring meats and fish.
Oh, nice.
Quite interesting.
But I'm going to give you some facts then.
Yeah.
So originally, the Seville orange came from Asia, and it was the Moors that introduced it to Spain.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
we went to that Moorish castle.
Yeah.
We were in. No, I'm just saying, you get to see this. That's your evidence of that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the Moorish castle we went to was in Portugal, but I just wanted to say the word marmalade derives from, and you're probably going to pronounce this better than me, but marmalada or leda, but actually that's Portuguese for quince paste.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you kind of got how the orange, the Seville orange, became called the Seville orange, but it was actually from Asia, taken to Spain, and obviously could grow there. And the reason it started to be used in cuisine, in cooking, was because it was too bitter to eat on its own.
And that's why it needs to, obviously, like what we've done with it, making marmalade, lots of sugar. There's a lot of sugar.
Now, what famous politician, one of your favourites, liked his marmalade?
Probably Winston Churchill.
It was Winston Churchill. And of course, the marmalade has got quite a history with Scotland. And I read this as well, Dundee, and that's because the Spanish landed in Scotland and brought the oranges.
Oh, like trade.
Yeah. So it was trade. And of course, they would already make things like that in Scotland, but not out of those particular oranges.
No.
But they did, again, because they were so sour, they made them into this marmalade, quince paste as it was in Portugal. And it just, as you said, got this wonderful bitter sweet taste that it really became, took off.
I've actually, thinking about uses, I've used it in flapjacks before. Putting it in the flapjack as in the oats. What else have I used it for? Oh, I've done a frangipane and marmalade tart. We did it for Christmas one year.
Oh, that was delicious.
Yeah. But again, you've kind of got the sweetness of the frangipane on top. And then underneath, you then got the bitter orange, which is a combo. I mean, almond and orange is like a mix in heaven.
Oh, yeah, nice. Oh, well, I can't wait to taste it.
Maybe you will. Maybe we'll do it at the end.
Why do you think it's lighter in colour this time?
Well, I think, like I said, because it's a natural ingredient. You don't know. It's like I was saying about the bread. You don't know. Sometimes the flour might have more protein in it. The oranges I bought might have had less or more sugar in.
Yeah.
And also the recipe I do, I'll try and remember off the top of my head, it's sort of 1.5 kilos of oranges. And I did 2 large lemons. So you obviously peel those or de-rind them, whatever you want to call it. And then you obviously chop all that up. So you do have a lot of rind slices that have to go in. And then you put that in, and you've got water, about 2.5 liters of water, and then about the same as sugar, so 2.5 kilos of sugar.
Is it just white sugar you use?
Yeah, I just use granulated.
Yeah.
And then what I did is I took and then obviously you juice all the fruits, which again takes some time, but you're cutting them in half.
Yeah.
And then I put all of the carcasses of the fruit into a muslin bag. I mean, this is the only one I would say slightly fatty chefy that you have to do. Put them all in, tie it up, a bit like Red Riding Hood's sack on her back, knot. And then you tie that sort of to the edge of your pan and keep them in the liquid as well.
Oh, yes, yeah, so you're getting every ounce of flavor.
But what you do is you actually boil the water and the rind and the carcasses of the fruit first, and you do that for about a couple of hours, and then you add the sugar.
Right, okay.
But what I do is I warm the sugar up. So you just put that in a glass bowl, measure it out, put that in a glass bowl, and just put it in a warm oven, because what you do is when it hits the liquid, it doesn't drop the temperature really quickly.
Oh, yeah, smart.
Yeah. So it actually helps sort of with the sugar dissolving.
Oh, that's a really good tip.
Yeah, so that's a top tip. With anything, you could do that with regular jams, it doesn't have to be marmalade. And then it's just you sort of, as you know, you put a plate in the freezer. That's the other top tip. Get those in early doors. First thing to do, actually, get some little dishes in your freezer. And then obviously you put, as you're boiling, you bring it back up to the boil at the end, turn it down, put a teaspoon on a cold plate, see if it wrinkles. If it doesn't, another 10 minutes. Put another one.
I don't know if this is, I'm sure it was marmalade as well, but you can do the old spoon in it trick. And if the liquid falls into the canal that you've made with the spoon, too quick, like you've got no canal, it's not ready. Once you start to drag the spoon, if it leaves like a canal, and then you get the juice, as that gets less and less, it's getting thicker and ready to go.
I think that definitely would work for like conserves and jams, but for marmalade, the consistency is still very liquid, even when you're near the end. So what you've got in your jar today was still pourable when it went into the jars, and now it's not. It's tolerable.
Okay. And so this is a time of year, isn't it, to make, because you can't really get Seville. I mean, I think, is it like December to January or something? There's a short season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it does go into February, and sometimes you can get them in early March, but I think it's all obviously to do with the seasons.
Yeah.
And how the crops performed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a December to Feb window, basically. But this year they were late. I didn't see them until January this year.
No.
Whereas other years we've had them early, I'm sure.
Oh, right, okay.
So it varies. I think maybe it depends on how cold it is.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely looking forward to...
sampling.
Sampling those, yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely hunkering down kind of weather. So we've obviously, we're getting into the swing of our roasts.
I know, well, I was reading something about that. Things pop up, don't they? And I get like the feed from Great British Chefs and stuff like that. It's really good. And they were obviously talking about roast because, we did our thing on New Year, didn't we?
Yeah.
With the birds and everything. And I was just thinking there's quite a lot of history actually with roast meats, but also roasts really, I think people do them, but I think, as we've said before, it seems like people get to Christmas and they do this big roast. It's like they're not really doing it. And yet it's such a great meal, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think
it can be quite simple.
But also like economical. Going through this cost of living, obviously, that we're all having to deal with.
Yeah.
I bought a chicken yesterday and I roasted it. So I thought, well, I've had the oven on to do my jars and my sugar.
Oh, sensible.
So I should get the chicken in. The oven's already warm. But for like £5 or £6, that's now then, that was a meal last night. It'd be another meal. I mean, I've nibbled it during the day after the gym. So actually, £5 or £6 lasts, and that's only me. Whereas if you're a family, I think that's really economical.
Yeah,
I think that it does worry me, because even on Sunday when we were out and about, we went for a walk, just missed the downpour. When we were coming back, there's a queue for McDonald's.
Oh, no,
and I'm not like, but I'm not. If you've got children, I'm sure pest to power and all that kind of stuff. I just think, the cost of a Big Mac meal or whatever must be £6 or £7. But for that, you could have a whole chicken and actually feed 4 people, not just one person.
Yeah, and I think, ever since ever since I was a kid, it's a generational thing. Sunday, as you know, was the day you kind of got together and had one, not that you didn't eat together, but, it's the one time you probably sat and ate together, you sat around the table properly, and it is a proper meal. And you're right, I think it is economical because that will give you then meals in the week, at least for a day, not 2 days.
But you got the stock you could make. So you did
out of anything. I mean, if you've got
you did it out the carcasses of the
birds. Yeah, I did. I did do that out of the birds. Made a really lovely soup.
It was delicious.
Yeah, and there was loads of meat on them as well.
That's what I mean, though. So that lasts even longer.
But I think I don't know what the decline is, but good old roast chicken, and you don't have to have loads of vegetables. You just keep it simple.
But I don't know if that's the thing, like we always say at Christmas, people seem to have, meat and 17 different types of vegetable to sort of placate everyone. I'm like, literally 3 is enough. You don't need.
But also, I think
choose your favourites.
I think this time of year, it's nice, isn't it? I mean, we've always enjoyed it, and we still do it. But it's that comfort thing, isn't it? Sitting around the table, you sort of cook together, you peel the vegetables together, you chat. I mean, if you're into it, you have a glass of wine or two or whatever, and then you sit down and you've got this lovely, nutritious, and it is nutritious, really tasty meal that's warming. And I always used to say, actually, if you had a really good Sunday lunch, that almost used to get me through the next day as well.
Well, I think also, though,
until the evening.
Like me doing the marmalade, it gets you through a very gloomy day, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting you want to do a roast in a 35-degree heat, which we have done occasionally when we've been in other countries and stuff, and it is sweltering. But when it's cold and damp and drizzly, what a nice way to spend a few hours, chopping, cutting, chatting.
But also, what a lovely thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Really yummy meal.
Lovely.
I think it's just a nice way to get together and be around. And I can see why, like, pub Sunday lunches, I think they've grown in popularity. So rather than maybe, and I do get it, people cooking, maybe if you've got small children, maybe if you're time poor, maybe if you're older, the whole thing, or, you feel like you don't have a big enough kitchen or something. But I get the Sunday roast, you go out and have a lovely roast and it's all done for you. It's the same thing, and you get together, don't you?
Yeah. It's like a carve.
Yeah, well, but I mean, some pubs really do great stuff, and they will do good local meats as well. Because I think that's the thing. The only thing for me is you don't always get the choice. No. So you don't get the choice of cut of meat. I mean, I suppose we think of beef, chicken, lamb, or pork. A lot of people don't do roast lamb, and yet a leg of lamb. Delicious.
Lots of people don't like it. It's very polarizing lamb.
Yeah, but it doesn't have, shoulder of lamb, that's fatty, but a leg of lamb, actually,
I know,
round it is lean, it's fine. And then I would want to laugh, Charlie, because it made me think I was thinking about, when you have all these different meats, the condiments that traditionally we would have with them, like horseradish with beef, and it's great. Sometimes we made that ourselves, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like get the old root of horseradish,
which looks a bit phallic-y. But you do end up with. I mean, if you're very sort of trad, you can have your horseradish with your beef, your mint sauce with your lamb, red currant with your chicken. It does get.
I mean, I love, and we get. It's the Dijon, isn't it?
Oh, I love Dijon mustard.
Yeah, Dijon.
I don't know what started it. It must have been a few years ago when I was in France. And I know what it was. I think this is going to sound naff I've just said about McDonald's, but they do mayonnaise with Dijon mustard in France.
Yeah.
Like already pre-done. And it is yummy. Use the word unctuous. So with your chips or whatever, it is really good. And I think that kickstarts this sort of Dijon thing. And now when I come back, rather than doing some big booze cruise, I'm sort of
come back with mustard.
6 jars of her Dijon. Because you can buy big jars. Not like our tiddly little.
I have to say,
2 teaspoons.
I add it to all sorts of things. I think you can add it to sauces.
Yeah.
If you make homemade burgers, quite often put a teaspoon of mustard in the mix.
We could
or meatballs.
Burgers, you could put horseradish.
But also, it doesn't have to be beef. It can be any burger. Chicken, turkey, or meatballs. Actually,
I like a bit of horseradish. Like if I make like a fish finger sandwich.
Yeah, I made an egg sandwich. It was actually an egg wrapped with watercress. I really fancied it. I had some beautiful eggs.
Yeah.
And I just mixed a bit of mayonnaise, just as you said, a good dollop of Dijon mayonnaise. It had a tiny little bit of salad cream, because I think you need that vinegariness. And obviously salt and pepper. And honest to goodness, it was delightful. Occasionally, I just fancy it. And you do it with beautiful eggs, make it yourself. Yummy. But the old mustard came out.
Yeah. But I think all of these things have multiple uses.
So what's your best bit of roast, do you think?
What, as in my favourite part of it, or just
or maybe when you're cooking, or the trickiest bit. Let me ask you that then. The trickiest bit do we find a tricky bit? Is it timing the meat?
I think it's timing it. I think that's what puts a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Because you've suddenly got a piece of meat, whether it's lamb, beef, chicken, whatever, and I think the pressure's on not to serve some dry old bit of meat.
Well, do you know what I think? People worry more about it being pink, not dry. And I would say I'd like everyone to worry more that it's too dry than too pink, because I've always said this when you were little in the kitchen learning to cook and stuff. But it's always, if you undercook something and it's not quite right, you can put it back in the oven, in a frying pan, whatever. If you overcook it, that's it. You're done. It's a piece is either ruined or you're chewing on it. So, I would say, please, just err on the side of caution. Don't
one of our other
overcook.
Things is obviously don't be afraid to let it rest for as long as you need it to, almost.
No, and I would say that's a big tip, isn't it? 20 to 30 minutes. That was a big learning for me, actually, for all things, even like a chicken.
Yeah.
It was interesting, Charlie, because I was watching Fallow restaurant, who we follow in London, and they do some great videos. I have to say, those guys do amazing videos.
And field to fork type.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I get absolutely obsessed by watching what they're doing. It's fabulous. But they did literally a roast chicken. I think I even saw it just today. So he was saying it's all about the timing. So he had this chicken. He stuffed it with half a bulb of garlic.
Oh wow!
And a big wodge of thyme.
Nice.
Right. And then what he did is he'd already cooked his potatoes. He ruffled them up. He put them in the baking tray. He then put a mesh, what do you call it? A wire rack over them. He then sat the chicken on top.
Oh, yeah.
He then heated the oil. And when the oil was hot, or if you're using fat or anything, I think he had oil. He poured the hot fat over the chicken, which then fell on the potatoes.
And then the rest.
He shook it, and then he put it in the oven. And he only put it in the oven, 200 degrees, for something like 20 minutes.
Oh, right.
Right? Took it out, and the chicken was really crispy already on top.
Right.
Right? He then, I think he drained the fat off, right? And did the whole thing again.
Right.
Right? Put it back in on a lower heat for about 160.
Yeah.
For only about another 20 minutes. Wasn't long, this chicken. Right? He then took it out, left the chicken, I think he took the chicken out, drained it all off, put the potatoes in separately to crisp in the bottom, and then he put the chicken one more time in. He made it look so easy and so quick. I mean, anyone, you can just see that. I mean, their videos are great. But
I think a chicken itself is relatively easy to cook. It's not.
No, and don't freak out about it. And if you let it rest, of course, any piece of meat, your chicken, as we know, just keeps cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, we've fallen foul, haven't we? I mean, we've had a few times when we've overcooked, we've undercooked.
Yeah, well, it happens. And everyone's got different ovens and different pans and all that kind of stuff. So you just have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I think you start to get like a bit more intuitive the more you do it. And I think that's the other thing. The more you do it, don't be afraid of trying it. It might not work, or it might work first time, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But at least you've done it and you've learned, okay, that worked. So next time I'll do it that way. But I mean, in terms of roast for me, I do like my Yorkshire puddings, which we talked about before. And I think that the other big thing for me with roasts is obviously like carver's perk. So quite like having a bit of a lick of the meat before it gets bladed out. There's something nice about the kind of edges, sometimes like just the crispy bits you can sort of pick, especially like a leg of lamb. I quite like that.
Oh God, yeah, delicious. And and as we said, any leftovers, I mean, it can be minced or whizzed up in a food processor and made into something. If it's lamb, a moussaka, a shepherd's pie, something very family friendly. It can be sliced, it can be stir fried. Oh gosh, the bones can be made into a stock and then it can be made into a soup. I mean, there's so many things, isn't it? It can be sliced, put on cold on a salad.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's probably what I'll do with chicken or something if I need to. But I think the only other thing for me is like we're talking about like things that when you're out, you don't always get what you want. You said about joy. For me, you don't get crispy roast potatoes. They're often just, I wouldn't even call them roast potatoes personally. I think they're a bit anemic and just not crispy. And the other thing is, when someone gives me a slice of meat, don't make it like a wafer thin piece because I won't taste.
Which
can't.
I know, and that actually. So I thought this. when we were chatting today, I thought actually it's really nice to talk about roasts. Being the time of year and everything, and it kind of is quite nice because we talked about rabbit, didn't we, and everything recently, and different things. And there's the venison. You got veal. You got lots of game birds, and there's lots of things. So it's quite nice. Go to a butcher and find something that because supermarkets don't always give you the choice. They don't give you the cuts of things, which I think is just try and be brave, do something a bit different. But I also thought it might be quite good to talk about carving because you are very good at carving your chicken.
Very kind.
You are. Well, you took on that style where you.
You basically sort of push the legs out once it's cooked, obviously. And, if it's cooked well, they kind of come away from the main body of the bird.
Yeah.
Or you just give it a bit of a pull. But, use your whole hand to pull the leg off. I mean, there's an amount of meat on the leg, underside.
Yeah.
And the whole drumstick and the leg itself. There's a lot of meat on those. And I actually quite like leg meat. I'm a leg man. And then, go down one side of the breast, but take the whole breast off rather than sort of slithering it. Slicing it off
while it's on the bird.
You just don't. What do you taste? Some sort of bit of white meat.
Yeah, and also quite often if you don't have a good enough knife, it pulls, and then it kind of you don't get a nice chunk or slice. And to your point, I think we don't want thin slices of meat. It's got to be a good slice of meat, and it's better to have 2 decent slices of meat than 4 or 5 thin slices.
Carving a chicken that way is foolproof. You don't need some fancy knife or carving thing. You can just do the 2 things. It's quite easy to do. And then just put that on a chopping board and either let people help themselves or just slice it up and serve it. It's not tricky.
No.
And the wings are nice. I sometimes, like last night, I have to admit, obviously I didn't eat the wings last night, but then I was a bit peckish earlier. So I might have nicked a wing off the bird.
Yeah, but that's what's quite good, isn't it? You can go in and, you can nibble at the bits of the bird later. If people want seconds or there's bits left over, that kind of thing. And it's the same as other bits, or other roasts that aren't birds, I guess. I mean, there are. But because I know I sent you something. So it's interested me. Ages and ages ago, I think I read something. Oh, I know what it was. I was doing some stuff on Chaucer.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously at that time, sort of Middle English, medieval time. And there's something came up about carving and how carving once was part of chivalry. I mean, it's extraordinary. You had to train to carve. It was a celebration of the food, and it was a real, what's the word?
Pageantry.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible what they did. Anyway, so I thought, Charlie, I just wanted to share some of the information.
Oh, yes.
I know I sent it to you, and you'll think I'm completely mad. But so, it became apparently a code of chivalry.
Right.
And which was really quite complex. And they also had kind of a language of its own. So, for instance, if you couldn't carve properly, it was called mangling.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's quite funny. I've probably mangled quite a few pieces of meat in the past. But also, a lot of things had different terms for specific ways they were carved. For instance, peacocks were disfigured. This sounds awful, doesn't it? But what was interesting, basically what they did was they skinned the whole bird with the feathers on and everything, roasted it. Right? When it was cool, they stuffed it with a force meat and everything. And then they carefully put all the skin and the feathers back on.
Yeah, because they used to sort of parade the meat in, didn't they?
So basically, meat, it was more for show than flavour, right? It just showed how wealthy you were.
How much land you had, I suppose.
Well, yeah.
You could get.
Yeah. Swans were lifted, apparently.
Oh, don't do that.
No, but this was about keeping them upright and keeping them intact, and even reattaching like the head to the body. I mean, it was quite extraordinary. Lots of things like partridges and quail were winged. Smaller birds like woodcock were thighed. And apparently there were over 20 ways to carve fish.
Really?
For instance, pike were splatted.
Pike is very medieval.
Yeah, but also you get pike now, but because it's a river fish, isn't it? It's a river fish.
Interesting.
So it was quite extraordinary. What else have I got here? Right. I wanted to share this. So apparently when you carved, venison couldn't be touched by human hands.
Right.
I mean, so I'm not quite sure how they did that.
No.
And beef and mutton only with the left hand.
Right.
And we have to remember that when this first started, they didn't have forks.
No.
And the whole point of carving things into nice chunks and stuff. So you had all the pageantry and the theatre and everything. But also, of course, they had spoons or they used their fingers.
Yeah, I read actually that the person that was carving the meat and stuff used to put the bits of meat on, they had bread sometimes in front of them, not a plate.
Oh,
and so the meat would they'd almost give them that piece of meat on top of their bread and then they eat it from that.
Yeah. But again, but it was just all about the theatre. So I think things like peacock and stuff were dry. I mean, I don't think they particularly tasted very nice.
No.
But also the whole carving thing was very, it was about a social status, like we just said, showed your wealth and everything. But the whole carving on it as well. So did you know a knight carved for a baron, a baron carved for an earl, an earl for a marquis.
Oh.
And before becoming a knight, you had to serve as a carving esquire.
Wow. That's how big it was.
Yeah. And there are some, even today, hold hereditary carving titles.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Meant a lot.
I know. And there was even a book of carving.
Wow.
Which was published around 1500, and it was to teach the Tudors how to carve properly. So can you imagine that?
No, biblical, I imagine.
Yeah.
Sounding like it.
But it was just, I just thought it was fantastic, Charlie, just a little bit of history. And because that meant that things like carving knives and carving sets, so you know that we get them in antique shops, you and I, but you bought one, didn't you?
Well, I was going to say about this.
Yeah. But of course, they were incredibly ornate. And that goes back to those times.
You found the leg of lamb holder.
Oh, yes.
For a friend of ours.
Which we made him guess what it was.
What
nobody
it was.
could guess it.
And then amazingly, I was in a brocante shop in Dieppe in northern France. And I went in and on the table, they had a box open, stood open. And it was a blue thin box. And inside was a big knife with, I think it is a bone handle. But it also had the leg of lamb attachment.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, the way we can describe it, it's kind of like a clasp, but it goes around the kind of bone part of the leg.
Yeah.
So you can hold it with that element. Obviously, don't use your hands, which clearly is a medieval thing, not to use your hands on meat. And then obviously you use the knife to slice away at the.
Do you know what? That's a really good point you've made then. Because
maybe that's where it comes from.
I had never seen one of those before. No. And obviously I had to be explained what it was. But you're right. So you would screw that on, which meant that you could hold that item, that handle, and then your other hand was free to carve. So you didn't actually touch it. Though I think with mutton, you could touch with your left hand, but it was the venison for some reason. You couldn't touch
but maybe touching, I mean, implements might not have been the same.
No, I don't. I think it was your hands. So it's just, wow.
I know. Well, it's incredible how much there is. And all that is obviously, why we are, as a country, famous for sort of Sunday roasts and doing big joints and things like that.
Well, it obviously passed down, but then what happened, by the time we got to the Jacobean era, of course, everything got a bit more flamboyant. Their costumes got very flamboyant. And they were wearing very frilly cuffs, get this. And the fork had been brought into this country, but everyone laughed. And even in church, they were damning it, saying it was, Satan's, I don't know, tool. So, yeah, it's like Satan's spear, I guess, because you had to spear the food. Anyway.
Well, I suppose there is probably a religious or like history there in terms of like the trident, the serpent, like holding that kind of fork.
And of course, the original forks, I think, just had 2 tines.
Yeah.
2 prongs.
But that's the one that the carving forks you sometimes get, and I have got. Actually, you still only have.
Mine too, that's true. But I think you ate with it. Forks that you ate with as well.
I'm sure in some medieval banquet you take with whatever you had.
No, you did. Definitely in medieval times. But by Jacobean times, so they had all these wonderful costumes and long wigs and frilly cuffs. And so actually they didn't want to be using their hands to eat.
Drag it in the fat.
They didn't want to drag it in the food. You're absolutely right. So the fork became part of what we ate with. It's a great story, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I thought you might like that.
No, it's good. Well, that's carving. That's a lot going on. Who knew there was so much to it?
Well, of course, we don't. And now, because people don't have roasts in the same way, of course, that whole tradition. I think, though, there was an element, even when I was little, the man of the house or the husband or whoever it was expected to be able to stand at the head of the table and carve.
Well, it's a bit like our favourite Christmas film when obviously the Christmas Carol, they
the biggest turkey
brings out this, the first, the goose to begin with, the tiny goose. But it makes me laugh, she's done all that effort and prep and then places it in front of him and then he gets the kind of like, oh, well done for carving.
I know. Yeah,
not slaving away for 4 hours cooking the thing.
Do you know what I did think though? I just thought, you go back to that time, didn't it show they gave all this ceremony to the food they were eating, to the animals? And I thought, I just thought it showed huge respect.
Well, I think that maybe that is partly why we don't, the tradition of having like a joint of meat on a Sunday has kind of dropped because we don't have that reverence for the food. It's become a commodity.
Well, because you buy it and it's covered in plastic.
Yeah. I don't think it's just that. I think it's probably the way we live. But I do think there is a trend now. It's swinging back. Whether people are having it out or are trying to do it at home, I think it has swung back. I think people are moving away from this. There's a big thing, obviously, is overly processed food, and Britain is actually the worst country in Europe for it.
Yeah.
And so I think people are thinking, well, actually, I can take all these vitamins and supplements and this, but actually, if I'm eating over processed food, there's no point. I might as well not bother. I might have good food to begin with.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing, and I think supporting local. Shopping local, independent businesses, farmers, they need all the help they can get, don't they? But I do think that did show. I just love that whole story actually, and I just suddenly thought it just showed a real. I mean, can you imagine the work?
I know.
To do a huge banquet it must have taken days and days for cooks.
Yeah,
right.
Well, they had people that were there just employed just to turn the spit, didn't they? And sometimes it got so hot they were naked, but they would get the fat would hit them.
Oh my God!
Or they had the fat would be all over them on like their clothes, and obviously what happened is it would ignite. So obviously the reason then they were employed basically naked was so there wasn't a risk of.
Well, they got burnt though.
Well, that's what you were employed to do.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
But wouldn't they? They would have had leather aprons and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't.
God, that's horrid.
Yeah, not really.
That's worse than the discombobulating of the peacock or whatever it was.
Anyway, on that note, actually, that draws us into quite a good one with this. So famous for their innuendos.
Oh, crikey! Oh, yeah, and
Great British Bake Off.
Yes, and bringing a slight sexual nature to cooking.
Innuendo. Nigella as well.
Nigella.
Confirmed.
I know. I think she'd be good, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think it is. We've had Mary Berry, Prue, amazing women in their own right, dames in their own right as well, and very knowledgeable about.
Oh, food. Do you think that's her Nigella's way to get a damehood?
Oh, damehood, maybe that's it. You've got Bake Off, you get one.
Yeah,
but I think she will bring a different edge to it, and I think actually it'll be good. It probably needs a reshuffle.
Yeah,
they changed the host relatively frequently, don't they?
Yeah,
there are quite a few different hosts.
Well, to be honest, I haven't watched it for quite a while.
It's interesting. A couple of people I've spoken to about it said actually we've kind of got out of watching it. But actually, Nigella might encourage us back on to Channel 4 to watch. So we'll see. But yeah, that was obviously
It's if she's a big enough draw that you're happy to watch it and watch the ads.
I know.
In between.
Well, I know. But we're very lucky. We're one of the only countries that doesn't have adverts on all our channels. Everyone else does.
Yeah, well, she has got. I was just thinking about you've got more of her cookery books than I have, but I think she's got one or two just on baking.
Well, there's one, obviously, Domestic Goddess, which was one of her earlier ones after she did How to Cook or How to Eat. And that is very much baking focus. I mean, I've done her flatbreads in there. She's got bagels, crumpets. I've done the riccarellis, the Italian.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what will be good with Nigella is she really does know her stuff. And she's lived in other countries. So I think she lived in Italy for a while. So she's very knowledgeable about all sorts.
Oh, well, I think she's a big Italian fan. Yeah. And I think her cooking is very much, I would say, verges on the Italian, more on the Italian cuisine.
One of her other books is called Nigellissima. That's her Italian vibe that she does. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and she's always considers herself, she's a home cook. Like a lot of these say they're cooks, they're home cooks. Yeah,
she's never professed to be anything other than that.
I mean, Prue, she was a bit of a step up from that because obviously she's got her cooking school and everything. So I'd say
she was a random fact here. She was hospitality director for British Rail when we had British Rail.
Yeah, that's about the sandwich.
Yeah, she took the curl out of the British Rail sandwich. And I think there's a story I think I read. It was something bizarre. Like she was in one of those kind of like Vox Pop things. They would put all the sandwiches up and got the general public in inverted commas to go in and say, okay, what's your favourite sandwich? Anyway, then one of the people that worked for British Rail, like one of the guards, well, I said, it's that one. She said, well, why is it that one? There was some limp, white bread and like crappy cheese in the middle. And she said, well, why is it that one? He said, because that's the bestseller, because it's got Britain's best-selling white bread and Britain's best-selling cheese in it. And that was his justification. But she said it was just the cheapest. It was just, Mother's Pride white bread and then like plastic cheese. But, this was the 70s. But, yeah, that's why he thought that was the best sandwich. But everyone was like, well, that's the only sandwich, so I've got to eat that. Or
it's a shame she did all that, and now you can't even get a sandwich on a tray.
Well, I know times have changed. And I think choice has changed as well. Back in the day, at British Rail, probably got a cup of tea at the station, whereas now, there's all sorts of things at stations.
Oh, Charlie, I must just say this to you. So I was watching an old Poirot the other night, and part of it, whoever it was, this woman he was talking to, they said, oh, would you like to join us for supper? And she said, no, it's all right, I'll get dinner on the train.
Oh, no.
Oh, you can't do that now.
Do that. Like you said, let's get a sandwich. Or gin and tonic. Anyway, so that brings us sort of to the conclusion. But
so what have we got coming up? Then we got, February's around the corner. Oh,
lots of stuff going.
And anyway, we've been talking about roasts. What should we have this Sunday? What do you reckon? What should we do?
Oh, I don't know.
We haven't had beef for ages.
No, we could have beef.
Should we get a nice piece of beef?
Yeah, maybe.
Make sure we carve it properly.
No, we said how to do it. Or
maybe we'll get a peacock.
We get a swan. King Charles.
It's a heron and crane. They eat all.
Well, I suppose he didn't have that protected thing. He's ate it because it was food.
But also, I think a lot of it, as I say, they don't think they always ate it. Yeah.
Look, I can get a heron, and how you catch one. It's another thing. But yeah, we'll have a think about what we're having.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
You got what we're up to.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you for listening. And you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Relish Lifestyle. Please subscribe and follow us on Spotify or wherever you listen.
Apple as well, yeah, all of them.
So yeah, that just leaves us to say, keep relishing life.